From the Tower District in Fresno, California, you're listening to the Wake, Bake, Caffeinate podcast with your host, Eve Ryland. Now here's the badass activist herself, Eve Ryland.
Wow, I love that intro. Thank you to my non-autistic but very divergent husband for recording that for this podcast and some of the others that are coming through. That is awesome. Well, hello, this is Eve, as the intro said, and I've got a lot to share with you today. It's going to work out a little bit different than I thought. I thought I would follow up with part 3 and maybe part 4 of the Town and Country article, Autism's Angels, that ran in 2006, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. So I am going to stay in that same sort of idea, but we're going to take a look at the deconstruction of an article on Hollywood Life that was speaking to the Tommy Hilfiger adaptive fashion launch. So we'll have that coming up. Why did they create an autism market that excluded autistic people? And a new segment coming up. So right now, I want to tell you about some incredible updates in community news. And the first one is in regards to an update on a big campaign that launched in relation to Color the Spectrum fundraiser event for Next for Autism. So coming right up. All right, this is Eve Ryland back with Wake, Bake, Caffeinate podcast episode 2, and I have some incredible news to share with you that I saw published yesterday on AutisticSciencePerson.com. This is a press release from Autistic Self-Advocates regarding the Color the Spectrum event and Next for Autism. Now, I read a Change.org petition and shared that with you in the last podcast episode about Next for Autism. And so there's been an incredible amount happening and just wow. So here is what that says. Color the Spectrum, a live streaming fundraiser event organized by non-autistic people and involving prominent celebrities, is scheduled for Friday, April 30th. That would be today, 2021. The money collected through this fundraiser is set to go to Next for Autism, an organization that awards funding to other nonprofit organizations through a grant application process. What may seem like a positive event on the surface has caused great distress and outcry in the autistic community, and this is why. 1. The non-autistic organizers of this event sought no input from the autistic community and present themselves as voices for our community. This represents and continues to perpetuate a decades-long history of non-autistic people speaking for and over autistic people. 2. Color the Spectrum is set to potentially raise millions of dollars for an organization that has a history of problematic and outright harmful attitudes and actions. These include support and allocations of funds to applied behavior analysis, ABA therapy, a harmful form of therapy that seeks to change autistic people's natural behaviors to ones deemed acceptable through coercion, manipulation, rewards, and punishments. In an attempt at harm reduction, many autistic people reached out to the organizers of this event. The only outreach attempt that received a response was that of an autistic person with privileged connections to Mark Robert, a key organizer of the event. On April 22nd, this autistic person provided Mr. Robert with some basic education and emphasized the urgency and importance of this matter. As a result of this, 3 other autistic people were brought in to virtually meet with Mr. Robert. After this meeting, which the autistic people involved considered constructive, they were asked to provide a list of recommendations for harm reduction. After these recommendations were made on April 25th, several other autistic people were brought in to provide input. Throughout our attempts to communicate and affect change, Next for Autism has never communicated directly with us. The only point of contact with Next for Autism throughout our group's advocacy attempts over the past days was through the aforementioned autistic person who has requested to remain anonymous. Given the limitations we were working under, these are the recommendations what were made by 5 of us and received by the CEO of Next for Autism. 1. Proceeds of the Color the Spectrum fundraiser, $1 million, or 1/3 of the Color the Spectrum fundraiser proceeds, whichever amount is greater, to be allocated to autistic-led organizations. A. Create an accessible portal for autistic-led organizations to apply for grants. B. Have staff available to support autistic people in the application process. C. Advertise that funds are available specifically for autistic-led organizations. Now for 2. Create a panel of autistic self-advocates to inform the distribution of funds to autistic-led organizations and who will determine criteria for the grant application to ensure that services and funds are best meeting the needs of the target population. A. Expand the definition of transition services to acknowledge that many autistic people do not develop on the same timeline or do not branch into increased independence or career services until later in life or after they have hit a wall of barriers. 3. Retain an independent autistic consultant or organization and fully fund a series of conversations by autistic self-advocates. This independent consultant or organization must be active within the neurodiversity movement and outside of Next for Autism's network. These conversations are important parts of representation that will provide deliberate and thoughtful collaboration within the community and should specifically include representation from intersectional populations like non-speaking, LGBTQ+, Black, Indigenous, immigrant, low-income, transitioning to adulthood, seniors, intellectually disabled and high support needs, small business owners, college students, etc. Autistic advocates will have autonomy over these conversations and the topics to be discussed. 4. We think it is important and necessary for the autistic community to feel that they've been heard and therefore to hear about these efforts from Mark Robert and or Jimmy Kimmel during the live stream outlining the efforts outlined above. At this time, the CEO of Next for Autism has communicated that she is in agreement with most of our recommendations, with clarification needed on number 3. See it, but well, we just mentioned it. We are waiting for an official announcement and hope that they will implement these recommendations. We urge the entire autistic community, autistic people's loved ones, anyone who cares about autistic people, and anyone who just cares about people in general, demand accountability and elevate autistic voices. We ask that any media organization or journalist who plans on reporting on these issues reaches out to autistic people first and foremost. Nothing about us without us. And this is signed by autistic science person, Mykola Brandy, the chronic couple, crippled scholar, and Rory Reckons. So you can find this press release over on AutisticSciencePerson.com. And wow, that was just a whole lot of wow, right? So let me go check over here really quick on Twitter and see if there's anything new being said. All right, so Autistic Science Person on Twitter at AUTSCIPERSON posted or tweeted 1 hour ago to inform autistic people about color of the spectrum. Mark Robert announced on the live stream that Next are donating at least $1 million to autistic-led organizations live tonight, and that an advisory board will be made of autistic people to select the organization. So that is, whoa. So April, wow. We're ending on like a wow, and just wow. Yep. So this is progress. This is progress. We don't live in utopia, but this is a huge step in the right direction. So I have nothing but kudos and incredible respect and admiration for the folks that work so hard to make this happen and in such an intense and short amount of time. Wow. This is just incredibly amazing. The autistic community, you are loud and proud and getting heard, and just this is an amazing event. And many thanks to all the folks who work so hard to make this step forward happen. Wow. So, all right, we got more coming up here in just a moment. Also, in autistic community news, I have Margot Wask, and wow, Margot shared a video with me that was amazing from the British Columbia legislature floor. I'm going to share that video with you right now, but you might recognize the name Margot Wask from the Autistic Fashion and Divergent Style site, where back in February, Margot Wask was featured on Autistic Fashion Divergent Style site, located at autisticstyle.fashion.blog, for their Neurodiversity Pride collection. So Margot Wask, I'll give you some background. Margot Wask is an autistic creator and artist who resides near Vancouver in British Columbia. In August of 2020, Margot launched a Neurodiversity Pride collection comprised of their design of a rainbow infinity and made the creation available on necklaces, stickers, pins, and more in their Etsy shop. Margot's vibrant art is also available on everything from fashion totes to notebooks. So this amazing collection and this infinity symbol pin with colors going around it, keep an ear out for that, because right there in their legislation space, you will hear about Margot and this pin representing autism acceptance.
Thank you. April is Autism Awareness Month. Actually, Mr. Speaker, this is Autism Acceptance Month, because it's not enough to just be aware of autism. We all know that autistic individuals are an important part of our community. And I had the opportunity recently to meet with a constituent of mine by the name of Margot Wask, who is a very talented autistic and non-binary artist and writer. They recently received a grant from the BC Arts Council. Margot sells artistic creations such as enamel pins, face masks, and clothing on an Etsy page called Retrophiliac, and runs a Facebook group called Made by Autistics with over 3,200 members that supports autistic writers, crafters, musicians, and others that have something unique to share or sell. Margot's extensive artwork is bright and vivid and is something that they dream of one day showcasing in a live art exhibition. The pin that I'm wearing today is one of these creations, inspired by the neurodiversity symbol. Margot wants to move away from some of the puzzle piece logos and bluish designs that have been used to represent autism. Instead of a puzzle piece suggesting that something needs to be fixed or solved, this symbol is a bright and beautiful spectrum and looks more like a game board representing a journey. To find out more about Margot's unique journey and to learn more about their artwork and message, please visit navigatingjourney.com, and I look forward to attending Margot's first art exhibition in the future. Thank you.
A deconstruction, the ableism behind Tommy Hilfiger's adaptive fashion launch, originally published March 9th, 2021 on the Autistic Fashion and Divergent Style site located at autisticstyle.fashion.blog. Do you see what I see? This is often a question I communicate to my life partner when I'm shocked by marketing messages surrounding products that are meant for autistic people. I'm autistic and disabled. My husband is not. Before we met in 2016, Bill had almost zero experience with autistic culture and community. After we met, well, he experienced culture shock on multiple fronts and, very truthfully, so did I. We discovered that we shared a similar extended family and socioeconomic culture and history, including the same hometown and high school. Yet even with that in common, it still took a lot of work on both of our parts to adjust to each other's quirks, patterns, and needs. As much as I've helped my husband understand autistic people and culture, he's helped me understand neurotypical people and their social nuances better. Quite often, he helps me understand the disconnect of what I'm communicating to what's actually being understood in my activism work. I greatly value our conversations, and I know I very much have evolved from them as well. So nowadays, I ask Bill often, do you see what I see? And if he doesn't, and that does happen often as well, but if he doesn't, I explain my perspective. And once I do that, his most common response is, now that I see it, I can't unsee it. I tend to pay attention to context and patterns as much as, if not more than, actual words used in communications. Quite often, I find others are more focused on language and emotions expressed, and they seem to find value in that more than the truth or facts. This is the gap, or the culture shock, that I cannot seem to bridge many times in my communications with non-autistic people. Learning how to communicate with Bill more effectively is helping me to communicate with the non-autistic world more effectively as well. Learning how to communicate with Bill more effectively is helping me to communicate with the non-autistic world more effectively as well. I've learned that when I deconstruct the pattern I'm seeing into very plain language first, and then follow it up with my perspective, it helps Bill and others to see what I see. So I'm going to deconstruct an article about Tommy Hilfiger's adaptive fashion collection published on HollywoodLife.com on December 22nd, 2017. And I'll make some points about what I'm seeing, and then I'm going to follow up with a summary in my analysis given from my autistic and disabled perspective. And afterwards, I'm going to ask you, do you see what I see? Before we jump over to the article, I'm going to share with you here a 45-second news clip that's titled Tommy Hilfiger, Bob Wright Speak on Autism in Palm Springs. This was originally aired on WPTV 5.
Fashion designer Tommy Hilfiger joined the Palm Beach Civic Association today, speaking about his role serving on the board of Autism Speaks, an advocacy and research organization. His son is on the autism spectrum. Autism Speaks was co-founded by former NBC CEO Bob Wright. Today, Wright spoke about his concern about what President-elect Donald Trump's plan to repeal Obamacare would mean for the autism community.
We have to be very careful because one of the mandates is mental health, and autism is specifically mentioned in the material. So if we lost that mandate, that would be a loss.
Hilfiger also shared stories from his 30-plus years in fashion design.
Just to be clear, there are two communities being described in this article. One is the autistic community, and the other is the autism community. These are not the same thing. They're very, very, very different communities. The autistic community is comprised of almost all autistic people and a few of our true allies. The autistic community is not the same as the autism community. The autistic community was created by autistic people worldwide. Now, the autism community is mainly comprised of non-autistic parents or loved ones of an autistic professionals or other non-autistic people. The organizations in this community are typically parent-led. This community was created by non-autistics and is quite often the focus in media communications. So what I mean by that is most often when you hear about the autism community, like you heard Bob Wright speak to in this video, that is not the autistic community. They are talking about the parent-created non-autistic community that they have dubbed the world of autism, or the autism community, or the secret world of autism. That is not the autistic community. So I wanted to clarify that going forward in case you were not aware. Now I'm going to share with you the article titled Legendary Designer Tommy Hilfiger has created an inspiring collection of adaptive clothing that was published on HollywoodLife.com on December 22nd, 2017. And this was written by Bonnie Fuller, the CEO and editor-in-chief. More than 3.5 million people have an autism spectrum disorder in the U.S. But until now, there have been no clothing collections to meet their special needs. Tommy Hilfiger changed that. There are many, many challenges faced by children with autism and their parents, as well as women and men on the autism spectrum. Designer Tommy Hilfiger didn't think that getting dressed should be one of them. He decided to do something about it. Many of those living with autism have dexterity issues, spatial and perception issues, dyslexia, and some have claustrophobia. That means that buttoning a button and zipping a zipper can be a real impediment. Tommy Hilfiger was acutely and personally aware of these issues. My family has been affected by autism, and the experience has enlightened me to their needs, he explains in an exclusive interview with HollywoodLife.com. I thought, wouldn't it be great to take our Tommy Hilfiger styling and make it adaptable for children with special needs? And that's what he did, keeping in mind not just children and adults on the autism spectrum, but also people who may be in a brace or are amputees, or who are suffering from cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, spinal conditions, or other disabilities. I wanted to help these people fit in and feel better about themselves. And it makes the team here feel great, explains the designer, who sits on the board of directors along with his wife, Dee, of Autism Speaks, an advocacy and support group. The Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive Collection, which debuted for kids in spring 2016, proved so popular that the adult collection launched this past fall 2017. The clothing totally mirrors the iconic look of the Tommy Hilfiger brand, all-American style with a modern twist in lots of red, white, blue, pink, and khaki. However, buttons and zippers have been replaced with hidden magnetic closures and Velcro, which makes shirts, pants, and dresses so much easier to get into and do up. We talked to a lot of parents, children, and educators, Tommy says, giving insight into how he and his design team created the collection. A lot of parents have been having to alter their children's clothes, and that takes a lot of effort and expense. He and the company have received an outpouring of grateful feedback from families, and Tommy has learned that his customers are especially loving pieces with athletic inspiration. Everyone wants to look sporty. The sportier the clothes, the better they're accepted. Children want to fit in and look like their peers, no matter what. Tommy explains, self-esteem is the most positive thing we can do. Dad and customer, Billy Mann, agrees. His family has been binging on the collection. Having options that are fashion forward is amazing, says Mann, who has children on the autism spectrum and is also a board member at Autism Speaks. He's especially grateful for the easy, magnetic closures, the soft, comfy fabrics in the Hilfiger Adaptive Collection. Opening and closing a button can be challenging, and some kids have hypersensitivity and can't tolerate certain fabrics like heavy denim. Mann, who is a Grammy-nominated songwriter and producer, says that the Hilfiger Adaptive Collection has been game-changing for parents, and he credits Tommy for being a great listener and always thinking about solutions. To check out the collections, most pieces are under $100. Go to TommyHilfiger.com and click on Tommy Adaptive. Hopefully, Tommy's example will encourage other designers and clothing manufacturers to recognize the needs of people with challenges like autism. 1 in 68 children in the U.S. currently have autism, and the prevalence of autism in the U.S. children has increased 119.4% since 2000. Says Hilfiger, "We didn't do this because we thought it would be profitable. We thought it was helpful, and it's a pleasure for me to do something positive." Thanks, Tommy. Hollywood lifers, are you blown away by Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive Collection? Let me know. And that concludes the article on HollywoodLife.com. So here's the summary of my perspective on this adaptive fashion launch article. I want adaptive fashion, but at what price? I'm talking beyond the sticker shock of Tommy Hilfiger's fashion adaptation collection being touted as having many items priced under $100. The disconnect here with autistic people starts with the inclusion of the tragedy narrative about autism, and then it just keeps speeding deep into ableism with the marketing language and completely fireballs into a dumpster by the time I read about the connection to Autism Speaks. This collection absolutely fails the nothing about us, without us motto for autistic and disabled people. While the need for adaptive fashion in child and adult styles is incredibly needed, Tommy Hilfiger's adaptive collection, marketed for autistics, is steeped in ableism. And when I mean steeped, I mean steeped again. To the very, very bitter end in ableism. The price to purchase an item here will cost me more than just a Benjamin. It will cost me my self-respect. And as a potential customer who's autistic and disabled, and a parent of autistics, I'm shocked, frustrated, and disappointed that autistic people's needs were determined by non-autistic sources. I'm upset that I don't see the inclusion of autistic people anywhere in the design or the making of this collection, and I am irritated. So irritated that Billy Mann's testimonial loving the collection is included and not one autistic person's feedback or any unbiased feedback was mentioned. What do I see? I see Tommy Hilfiger as a non-autistic designer who wants to meet the adaptive clothing needs of autistic and disabled people. I see a designer that has no connection to the autistic community and is obviously unfamiliar with autistic culture. Well, it's that, or this designer is insulting autistics on purpose. I see a designer who has an autistic child. I see a designer who sourced parents and professionals as a guide for autistics' needs and wants in adaptive fashion and style. I see the designer is a board member of Autism Speaks. I see a designer speaking for autistic people as the voice of autistic people. I see a designer speaking for us and getting it so wrong, while other non-autistic people cheer him on. I see autistics being used as inspiration or as a feel-good project for non-autistic employees. I see Autism Speaks mentioned again as a support group type organization. The reality here is Autism Speaks is the largest private backer of autism research in the nation, if not the world. They are also instrumental in lobbying for legislation for autistic people and our healthcare while excluding autistic people from having a voice in the matter. And I see here the star power of Billy Mann being harnessed in a testimonial. Billy Mann is known as one of the creators of the worst propaganda Autism Speaks ever made. I Am Autism. He's a bully of autistic activists and has an ableist attitude and is unapologetic for the harm he's caused autistic people having to grow up in the shadow of his work. I see ableism all through this article on HollywoodLife.com. It's just drenched in it. It's really frustrating and disappointing to read. As a disabled and autistic person, I have the privilege of having support in getting dressed daily. I have the support in getting undressed daily. I have the support in putting on my shoes, my jewelry, and styling my hair. Having the privileges of daily support means I also have the privilege to avoid purchasing from Tommy Hilfiger's adaptive fashion collection. Now, not every autistic or disabled person has the same privilege as I do. Many autistics don't have the in-home support I do. Many autistics survive on a fixed income that barely allows them to eat and have housing, much less purchase expensive clothing items, adaptive or not. Thankfully, I have the privilege and love the experience of shopping at thrift stores or vintage shops and then applying my very own fashion hacks to adapt them. So, now I have a question for you. Now that I've described my experience of this fashion launch, do you see what I see? Alright, that was a lot of information in a very short amount of time, so let's take a moment to process that, and while we do, shake it off. I'm gonna play a song that is my husband, Bill Ryland's version of the Shake It Off song we know by Taylor Swift. So enjoy that for a few moments, and then we'll be back with more Wake, Bake, Caffeinate and talking about, the autism market that was created for non-autistic people and more coming up.
I stay out too late, got nothing in my brain. Well, that's what people say. Well, that's what people say. I go on too many dates, but I just can't make them stay. Well, that's what people say. Well, that's what people say. But I keep on cruising, can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be alright, 'cause the player's gonna play and the hater's gonna hate. But I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break and the faker's gonna fake. But I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake it off. I never miss a beat, I'm like lightning on my feet. Well, that's what they don't see. Well, that's what they don't see. I'm dancing on my own, making these moves up as I go. Well, that's what they don't know. No, they don't know. But I keep on cruising, can't stop, won't stop player's gonna play, and the hater's gonna hate. But I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break, and the faker's gonna fake. But I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake it off. Shake it off, shake it off now. Shake it off, shake it off. Oh, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it off. Shake it off, shake it off now. Oh, shake it off, shake it off. Oh, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it off.
All right, that was my hubby, my very non-autistic but divergent husband, Bill Ryland, playing his version of the Shake It Off song. And if you like that, you can catch him anywhere pretty much on social media with more of his music and some of his funny bits, say on TikTok and Instagram, but you can catch him pretty much anywhere at Ryland Music, and that's ReilandMusic. Next, I'm going to talk about autistic fashion and divergent style. Why did fashion and style companies create an autism market that excludes autistic people? This is an article I'm going to share with you that I wrote and posted on February 19th, 2021 over on the Autistic Fashion and Divergent Style site located at autisticstyle.fashion.blog. This is April and the month has been, wow, it's been a month in 2021, that's for sure. It's too much to go into, but I do want to share this article with you because it's timely in the sense of the market, the autism market, and how it's not actually created for autistic people, but non-autistic people. So here we go. Bring on the color and bring it in metallic, neon, holographic, and pearl sheen. And then show me more in glossy, shimmer, and sheer. My happy space is in color and sparkle. I am not alone in this love for expression. Fashion, makeup, hair, and style products are loved by many, many autistic people worldwide. Since networking online, we've realized bright, expressive hair is an autistic trend, just one of many trends in our culture and community. Many companies are missing out on autistic people's purchasing power and preferences. They're also really missing out on our brand loyalty. If a company makes a product I love, I tend to love it for life. That these companies are not reaching out to the actual autistic market is frustrating, dehumanizing, and often infuriating. I am not a disease. I am an autistic person and a customer. I am also a parent of autistics. Most of them are adult age now. And you know what we all have? We all have incredible brand loyalty. One of the constants on my vanity since I was a teen is Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder in Translucent. My kids, even the grown-up ones, have a deep love for products that include My Little Pony, Sailor Moon, and Pokemon. For shoes, we all love Skechers, so we've shopped at the outlet store here in Fresno for many years to get them their shoes. So many autistics have tales of incredible brand loyalty. What a missed opportunity for companies to exclude us. Right now, the autism market caters to non-autistic people, and many products for autism awareness are to raise funds for the largest private backer of autism research in the nation, Autism Speaks. This organization is known as a hate group in the autistic community. We've experienced far too much ugly under their blue light to ever support their work. Autism Speaks has been instrumental in excluding us from representation and legislation about us, including our health care. This was done so they could pass legislation to cover a therapy they generated as a solution to reduce autistic behaviors and STEMs. The goal with applied behavioral analysis, ABA, was the autistic child would be mainstreamed into typical classes by elementary school. ABA was introduced as a solution to reduce the financial burden of autistics being born today. Thus, this future calamity predicted by Autism Speaks was called the Autistic Crisis or the Autism Epidemic. The world just couldn't afford the burden of us autistics. We would, or more specifically, our white autistic males would bankrupt everyone in the world. With ABA, the promise was autism would be cured by elementary school, and in 20 years, the autistic crisis would be averted. Well, it's 2021, and we know that prediction wasn't true. Autism Speaks still treats autistics like a tragedy, crisis, and burden, while paying lip service to inclusion. The original study that showed the success rate of ABA to be at 50% has never been replicated. In fact, the study of ABA by the United States Department of Defense was denounced as a failure, not just once, but multiple times. Simply stated, ABA doesn't work. In study after repeated study, ABA, which is autistic conversion therapy, doesn't work. That doesn't stop Autism Speaks from promoting it, though. They are the ones who funded the marketing to show this therapy works. They went so far as to merge multiple autism charities in the United States to become the most powerful voice on autism in the world. They dominated, battled, and belittled autistic people for decades in order to silence us and bully their way through their monetized agenda. They also used their vast networks and connections to launch a cult-like following termed Mother Warriors that also simultaneously silenced autistic people. Almost all autism organizations have promoted harmful therapies and bullshit as a cure or solution to recover an autistic child. And yes, that includes Autism Speaks. This organization has been instrumental in launching the validity of anti-vaxxers and funded study after study after study trying to prove the link. Ultimately, their own researchers proved there's no vaccine autism link, and they had to drop it, at least officially. Later, due to pressure of autistic activists being heard, Autism Speaks also dropped the word cure from their mission. A lip service gesture to keep investors happy, I suppose. Autism Speaks might have had to officially let go of the vaccine injury claims, but in turn they're quadrupling down to protect the ABA industry. Autistic children who receive ABA have a high risk of developing PTSD and other lifelong trauma-related conditions, which is a fact that ABA promoters try to justify and circumvent with the argument of not my ABA. Autistic people have been fighting this harmful therapy since before Autism Speaks rallied non-autistic parents to help push legislation that was introduced to force insurance companies to cover the cost of the therapy. Autistic people are still fighting to get it banned now, and that is a true fight for Autism Speaks. Money. If legislation gets passed to ban autistic conversion therapy, ABA, a billions of dollars a year industry will vanish. Autistic people aren't fighting some organization that does good for autistic children. We're fighting the richest and most powerful people in the world that back the organization and profit off of us. It feels dehumanizing to see my favorite brand support an autism organization that has done so much harm to so many in the autistic community. Autistic activists have advocated to these companies before, trying to get them to understand, but to no avail. In my research over the years, I've discovered that's because almost every large company is somehow affiliated with Autism Speaks or one of their very powerful board members. Every April, the designated Autism Awareness Month, I have to see these brands gaudily decorated with puzzle pieces and messages geared to the non-autistic population. It reminds me that with the autistic human rights and civil rights movement, we still have so much more work to do. One day, when I'm shopping for some eye sparkle or tinted lip sheen, I hope to see brands hiring autistic people to market beauty and style products to the actual autistic market, and autistic models represented in marketing related to these products. And that is my summary, that is my analysis and my thoughts. Autism market that was created and didn't include autistic people. All right, I want to introduce a new segment here on Wake, Bake, Caffeinate, the podcast version, titled Going Down the Rabbit Hole. This will be a regular featured segment in future episodes as well. But first, I feel compelled to warn you before taking this deep dive all the way to the bottom of this rabbit hole. At the bottom here is a lot of wow, a lot of OMFG and more. So, before we take the deep dive, I'm going to give you a chance to opt out, right? And also give you an official warning. So, you come down this rabbit hole with me, and when we get down there, you might get stuck down there, hopping from one WTF to another WTF, land in a WTAF, and then somehow segue and find yourself stranded in a puddle off to the side of Autism Speaks who knows what when your head explodes. Okay? Just saying. Want to give you a warning. This is your last chance because here we go.
Going down the rabbit hole, going down the rabbit hole, going down the rabbit hole, down, 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 down.
Gonna smoke some weed. Yep, I'm like the bullet down here at the bottom of the rabbit hole. In my Yolandi Gandalf-style pipe from Peacemaker that is all silicone, and I can't break it. I wore out my first one, though. I used it almost daily, all day long. So I really missed it when that one was finally worn out after some years of heavy use. My husband, Bill Royland, surprised me with this one, and I'm so happy with it. But at Peacemaker, you can find it online at PIECEMAKER, and today we are being powered by, what's the name of that? Today we're being powered by Bubba Kush. So who's down here in the rabbit hole with us today? Oh my. Why, that's none other than Billy Mann. Yep. Ooh, you got a tick out of me. Sounds like a click. I did on purpose, but that was actually a tick. Nice. That was a click of my lighter. That tick is probably saying I need to hit some more of the cannabis. All right. So down here at the bottom with us in the rabbit hole today is Billy Mann. So, yeah, who is Billy Mann? Many people in the autistic community are very familiar already with Billy Mann. But some of you are probably wondering, who the hell is Billy Mann? And why? Why is he at the bottom of this rabbit hole with us, right? Okay, so first up, Billy Mann is actually a really incredible and talented songwriter, record producer, creative executive, and music publisher. Hands down, amazing in that area, is known for collaborating and working with performers and artists like Pink and many other big names. And I'm terrible with names, or I tell you them all. It's impressive, wonderful career there and talent in that area. Billy Mann is also a father to 2 autistic children and some non-autistic children as well. But okay, after this is when it starts to go, ooh, oh no. All right, so in the autistic community, we also know Billy Mann very well as an Autism Speaks board member, longtime board member, and I probably was one of the original board members when it launched in 2005. Though I'll have to double check that. He is most proud of the philanthropy he's done to get autism legislation passed. He said that more than any award or plaque that he's ever received, his proudest achievement was standing in the Oval Office watching President Obama sign an autism funding bill into law and then hand his son the pen. Now, this is the bill that Autism Speaks was so instrumental in getting passed. This bill was originally called the Combating Autism Act, and it was signed originally in 2006 and again in 2011. Due to advocates getting heard, in 2014, this bill was renamed to the Autism Cares Act and re-signed, and then it was signed again in 2019. So I mentioned Billy Mann is well known in the autistic community, and the reason is he is one of the creators of one of the worst propaganda films Autism Speaks ever published, and that was called I Am Autism. Now, that video set off an incredible wave of stigma and awful, and I can't even really encompass it all right now, but it was so awful, just the tragedy and fear narrative, and the stigma it created. We're still fighting that today. Autistic people and autistic community or allies are still fighting through that awfulness today. So it's not over. It's still here, the effects of that all around us in today's culture. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of that video so you can hear the tone of it and not just hear me get so angry I can't talk over it, right? So I'm going to share a little bit of that with you, and then I'm going to come back and we'll speak more about Billy Mann. Here we go.
I am autism. I'm visible in your children, but if I can help it, I am invisible to you until it's too late. I know where you live, and guess what? I live there too. I hover around all of you. I know no color barrier, no religion, no morality, no currency. I speak your language fluently, and with every voice I take away, I acquire yet another language. I work very quickly. I work faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined. And if you are happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails. Your money will fall into my hands, and I will bankrupt you for my own self-gain. I don't sleep, so I make sure you don't either. I will make it virtually impossible for your family to easily attend a temple, a birthday party, a public park, without a struggle, without embarrassment, without pain. You have no cure for me. Your scientists don't have the resources, and I relish their desperation. Your neighbors are happier to pretend that I don't exist, of course, until it's their child. I am autism. I have no interest in right or wrong. I derive great pleasure out of your loneliness. I will fight to take away your hope. I will...
All right, that's all I can handle of that. Ugh. So you can find that video in a lot of places on YouTube. I Am Autism. Whew, yeah. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to smoke a bit and take a break. Maybe you should too. Always a trigger. As you can hear in that video, it makes it sound like a dystopia after nuclear war or something. Some of that background sound is definitely movie magic, right? So, Mann, since then, has been pretty awful to autistic activists over the years, but apparently the roar of autistic civil rights movement couldn't be silenced anymore. I don't know why, but I'm wondering and thinking that might be why. But Mann wrote the Autism Community an apology letter in 2019. Yeah, an apology letter in 2019. So you heard that right too. He wrote it to the Autism Community, not the Autistic Community. So, actually, not surprisingly, I'd rather have been surprised, really. It was really a giant sorry not sorry lip service attempt that looked like something to show parents of autistics who were hearing autistic activists and asking them uncomfortable questions and things like that. So, that's more. So, if you are now sucked into this rabbit hole, well, I hope this helps your journey. But remember, this is a rabbit hole. You jumped in. I warned you, you jumped in at your own risk. But if you get stuck down here, holler. We might be able to help get you out and somewhere else. All right, so that's the end of this rabbit hole session today. If you find anything interesting out, let me know. I'm going to read you a quote from the apology letter that Billy Mann had written and posted on Facebook a couple of years ago. But before I get to that, I want to share with you a Time article that was published in November 6, 2009 in regards to the I Am Autism video that sparked a protest. And it was written by Claudia Wallace. And again, that was November 6, 2009. Few medical conditions rival autism as a magnet for controversy. Practically everything about the disorder, its cause, its treatment, the way it's diagnosed, and how it is studied is subject to bitter dispute, sometimes to the point of death threats. The most impassioned disagreements are propelled by desperate parents of autistic children, but increasingly, people who themselves have an autism spectrum disorder ASD diagnosis are speaking up. And their priorities, surprisingly enough, are not always in line with the advocacy groups who seek to represent their interests. The latest example is the eruption over a video produced for Autism Speaks, the nation's largest autism advocacy group. The slickly produced video, written by Grammy-nominated songwriter Billy Mann and directed by Academy Award-winning director Alfonso. Can you say this last one for me?
Cuarón?
Cuarón.
Cuarón?
Cuarón? Okay. And directed by Academy Award-winning director Alfonso Cuarón, shows a series of images of children with autism accompanied by an ominous voiceover. I am autism. I know where you live. I live there too. I work faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined. And if you are happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails. Some autistic self-advocates are furious over the tone of the video, portrayed as burdens or objects of fear and pity, insists Ari Neiman, president of the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, a 15-chapter group he built while attending college at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Apparently, should my parents divorce, it's all my fault, says Neiman, who received a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, a relatively mild form of autism, at age 12. Again, this is directly read from the article. Neiman, whose group has organized protest rallies around the country. These advocates argue that if Autism Speaks had more people with ASD on its board, its messages would be more sensitive to the individuals it seeks to help. And it might also devote more resources to improving services to people with autism now, as opposed to basic research and genetic studies that may not pay off for years. Groups like Autism Speaks choose to use fear and stigma to raise money, but very little is going towards services, research, and into improved educational methodologies and things that have a practical impact on our lives. Neiman charges, he notes that other disability groups have moved away from using fear and pity in their media campaigns. Peter Bell, Executive Vice President of Autism Speaks, said the video got plenty of positive responses from the autism community. But we realized it did hurt a certain segment of the population, which is why we removed the video link from our website, he said. Certain series. Do you hear that? Oh, okay. I'm trying not to lose it, but certain segment of the population would be the autistic people of the population. The autistic people of the population, Mr. Bell. The autistic ones. We're not just a segment of the population. We are the population. You're supposed to... Never mind. Stop. I'm stopping. It's just... What the hell? Everyone but you autistics. Thanks for the love. All right. So, the video, Bell said in an interview, is a personal expression by Mann and... Help me here, Bill.
Quarone.
What he said, each of whom has a young child with autism. They are at that stage of life where they are grieving and unsure what the future holds, he said. I Am Autism, which turns hopeful. No, I'm going to disagree with that comment, but okay, whatever you say. About halfway through, it's 3 minutes and 44 seconds. I'm just going to tell you my autistic perspective on that really quick. That part is where it goes from whoa to absolutely terrifying. Let's move on. I'm scared to even think about it. Okay, all those people are out to get the autism's apparent. No. This was created for a world focus on let me just start over. I Am Autism, which turns hopeful about halfway through its 3 minutes and 44 seconds, was created for a world focus on autism event that coincided with the opening of the UN General Assembly in September. It was never intended to have a life beyond that event, Bell said. How does that make it, that's not even making it better. How does that comment making it, whoa, all right. So, Bell admitted that Autism Speaks does not have any individuals with autism currently serving on its board. We are looking at adding individuals with autism to various advisory committees, he said. That's a nice way of saying to put you in positions that have no power in leadership there. Oh, well, thanks for your thoughts. Nice. Next. Okay, he said. The group is also initiating a better outreach to adults with autism. Oh, whoa, stop. That was 2009. How's that outreach going for you? I'm in 2021. Hello, 2009, Mr. Bell. That outreach you were talking about back then. Where? So, what a joke, right? That may help tone down the fear and pity image of autism that Neiman and other self-advocates protest, but perhaps more effective and certainly funnier, and they are amazingly funnier, are the parodies, some created by autistic people that skewer the Autism Speaks video, including I Am Socks and I Am Autism Speaks. So yeah, woohoo! I know Paul Wadey is one of the folks with the video out there that's a parody, and I think it was the other one, the name is escaping me, but this is from the Time article, and I'll tell you what, you can go search and find the parodies. They're out there. Just go look for them as a part of your rabbit hole adventures, right? Since the video came out and the uproar happened in 2009, Billy Mann has been pretty awful to autistic activists over the years. But I'm guessing the roar of autistic civil rights movement can't be silenced so easily anymore, because Billy Mann wrote the Autism Community. an apology letter in 2019. Yes, you heard that right. The Autism Community, not the Autistic Community. Anyhow, it was a giant sorry not sorry lip service tribute that looked and felt like it was done to quell parents of autistics asking Autism Speaks some uncomfortable questions about their history and tactics. But, before we get to that, I'm going to share an article from Time magazine that was published Friday, November 6, 2009, about the I Am Autism Controversy. You can find the letter I'm going to quote from here in just a moment. You can find the letter in full. It is on internationalbadassactivist.org. You can find it on Billy Mann's page if you're already there. You can find Billy Mann's page under Autistic History in the subsection titled Celebrities and Stigma, and see it on that page in full, or find it by doing a keyword search up in the navigation menu. But in that apology letter, Mann stated, "And I realized that after years of caring, not caring, rationalizing, and spinning, I Am Autism was not my best, most balanced moment. It was honest." Ooh, that honest word again, back in 2009. We keep hearing that word. We heard it from, let's see, ding, 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 ding. We heard it from the Slackens, ding, ding, ding. I think we heard it from Singer, ding, ding, ding. And now, Billy Mann. That is an amazing, amazing, amazing word that keeps popping up from all these parents who are affiliated with Autism Speaks, justifying this shit. Okay, but should it have been highlighted as anything more than just that, a dad in pain expressing his unique autism experience? Let's see. The answer to that, Mr. Mann, is no. No. Billy Mann, no. Not just some dad, some everyday dad expressing his pain. He sits on the board of the organization that actively has silenced autistics since 2005. He sits on the board of the largest private backer of autism research in the nation, and his influence is felt everywhere. Every public and government organization related to autism, his influence has touched. He's part of the board who created the autism epidemic to generate donations by the millions to save a generation of lost children. He did this knowing autistic activists existed, and we were fighting the tragedy, marketing, and abusive therapies already. And he and the rest of the board at Autism Speaks were pushing. So no, sorry, not some average dad expressing his emos. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Sorry, not sorry, that's bullshit, right? So even after he wrote his apology letter on Facebook, Mann refused to acknowledge or take any responsibility for the harm he caused a generation of autistics. Maybe more than a generation now, a couple generations, with his advocacy work. He wouldn't even show respect to the autistic advocates who were trying very hard to gently educate him on the harm that video had caused them growing up. Man can't fathom, I suppose, the harm that he caused all autistics everywhere. He won't even process the thought. And, the accusations or the stereotyping of us, we are also not just young autistic generation. You have generations out here of autistic parents, autistic grandparents, our adult age autistic children who are now having their own autistic children. We are all out here, and it may have felt like you got your way back in the day, but we didn't go anywhere. We were still here. All these autistic elders were reaching out and connecting with the younger generations and teaching them their history and what this was all about. So hello and welcome to 2021. Billy Mann didn't change patterns at all. No way. And as a parent, I have told him that video as an autistic parent to autistic kids, it was awful. My kids suffered greatly from the stigma that launched. I have suffered greatly from the stigma that video launched, and we're still battling that stigma in our culture today. So, and it's fierce. It's really brutal. But Billy Mann hasn't changed his patterns at all. So when Autistic spoke up in regards to that apology on his Facebook page, Mann just quadrupled down on the bullshit. So Autism Speaks style. So if you want to keep diving down this rabbit hole with me, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a bonus since this is our first one. If you can find Billy Mann's page on International Badass Activist that there's one on there that's published that has an archived Wake, Bake, Caffeinate live stream from a couple of years ago that focused on this sorry, not sorry apology. And while I was live streaming and sharing about this particular apology letter and the responses there, Billy Mann dirty deleted his Facebook post. Poof. Including all the commentary by autistics and our allies. There was 200 or 300 comments there. And there were some really, really well-written things there. But, and then they were gone. Poof! Why, I was live streaming. But you want to know something? Hey. It's almost like they don't get autistics at all. But no worries. We got screens. We got screens documenting the entire event available for anyone to see. And you can find a copy of these screenshots of that event and all the comments that disappeared when Billy Mann dirty deleted his post. The apology letter, which we also have in full. Yeah. Anyhow, you can find a copy of those over on Amanda Siegler's blog at fierceaudi.com, FIERCEAUTIE.com. Or you can jump to them if you're already on the Billy Mann's page on internationalbadassactivist.org. It's right there at the top. So, anyhow, I hope that helps your journey. But remember, this is a rabbit hole. And I warned you. You jumped in at your own risk. Enjoy. All right, this is Eve, and that's episode 2 of Wake, Bake, Caffeinate. I am going to share with you a song, again, by my non-autistic but very divergent husband, Bill. His cover of I Will Survive. I felt like it, it just felt empowering to play this one at the end today. So, all right, until next time.
At first I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But I spent so many nights just thinking how you'd done me wrong. And I grew strong. I learned how to carry on. And so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed those stupid locks. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd have thought for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Go on and go, walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one that tried to hurt me with goodbye? Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down and die? Oh no, not I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I've got all my life to live, I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive, yeah. And it took all the strength I had not to fall apart. I tried so hard to fix these pieces of my broken heart. Oh, I spent so many nights just feeling sorry for myself. I used to cry, but now I hold my head up high and you see me. I'm someone new. I'm not that chained up little bitch that was in love with you. Oh, now you think you'll just drop in and expect me to be free. No, I'm saving all my loving for someone who's loving me. Go on and go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one that tried to break me with goodbye? Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down and die? Oh no, not I. I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give. I'll survive.